Okay, on top of Daf Ches. And the Gemara was discussing about Negoim. Just scroll down a little bit from yesterday. Talked about that the Kohen, it only becomes Tameh after he declares that it's Tameh by Nega. And it was permission for the Kohen to delay looking at it. And there was two drushes. One was from Obiyom Hera Osbo. That's going to be the Gemara's going to dash soon, but the drushes exactly talks about the day that the Nega is seen. So the fact that it has an extra word or a letter we'll see today. So that's coming to say that some days that you don't have to look at it. And it talks about a Chasan and a Regel, the Shiva Sima Mishnah, the Shiva Sima Regel. So you could delay and not look at it. The whole Mishnah was discussing if it's possible to look at it, then Paskin only Kula. And that we seem to Paskin that you can, so therefore don't look at it at all. And another Mandi Omer says here that the drasha would be from the fact that every time we come to check an ega, it says that they should clean out the furniture, clean out the house before the Kohen comes in order that they shouldn't become tamei. So you see, of course, that it doesn't become tamei retroactively, and also you see that he could delay from coming until they clean out the house, and that's called the Dvar Rishus. And Kal V'chomer for Dvar Mitzvah, for the Chasan, for the Regel, that you'd be allowed to delay from paskening on the nega. The last thing the Gemara said was that the machlokes might be for Dvar Chiddush, that maybe the one who says the first drasha, he doesn't learn from the second drasha of Tzivu Kan Pinu Asabayis, because over there the whole tumah of a house is a chiddush. Usually houses don't become tamei. Even tumas meis, the house doesn't become tamei. Only, as we know, tumas oalim is only tzemer or pishtan, but a house doesn't become tamei if there's a mace inside. And here the house does become tamei. So for that you could delay for a reason for the Dvar, but otherwise for a nega on a person's skin or a garment, maybe over there is not going to be had to delay for a Dvar. That's what we ended off yesterday, and we're on top of Daf Ches Amud Aleph. The Rebbe Yoma Itzrich, the Gemara is continuing with two drushes. We just said that there's two drushes before the Achronim Masakasha, before the Gemara said on this man the Yoma, just coming up Rebbe, he says Eino Tzarech. You don't need the first drush, the second drush is enough. Now the Gemara is going to say that you need two drushes. So the kasha has been asked. On the bottom over here, you have Rabbi Tzalel Rennesberg. Yes, the kasha that the Gemara seems to contradict itself, but we'll leave it at that. The Gemara now says that the mandamah that says you learn out from the Pinu Asabayis that every time you're allowed to delay looking at the nega until they clean out the contents of the house and know that shouldn't become tamei. He says you need two psukim. You need both of the psukim. That talks about the drush that the chasan and the regel you're allowed to delay till after the Shabbat brachas. Over there it's just talking about a chasan maybe, just for a mitzvah, for the regel, for the chasan, but you wouldn't know that for your own private reasons, like we said, that it shouldn't be a hefset to the kalim, or I have to put it into the mikvah, it would take a lot of tircha, might not be able to be metired also. You wouldn't see that as mutter, only for a mitzvah, not for a rishus. So over there the pasuk says that even for the barashus, that you shouldn't have to, the kalim shouldn't become tamei. Also, you're allowed to delay from paskening on it. And that's one direction. That's why you need the pasuk of Upinu Asabayis. Because of Rahmanav, Sivakon, Upinu Asabayis, Savamena Hani in the love Tumah the Gufe, Aval Tumah the Gufe, in Mamech Sechazile, Tzricha. So the Gemara seems to say, according to what Rashi says over here, that the pasuk alone, he agrees that as far you might say that the pasuk that says you could delay looking at the house, the neg of the house is because, in order to save the contents from becoming tamei, is because it's a chiddush. What the Gemara says that it's not Tumah the Gufe means that it's not something on the person's body, which Rashi seems to explain that there's a chiddush. Same way the Gemara said on top that eitzim bavanim ba'alma metamu hacham metamu. So for that kind of a tumah, which the whole tumah is a chiddush, on that maybe the Torah allowed you to delay from paskening on it. But on a tumah which is not a chiddush, like on skin, on a person's body or on the garment, so maybe over there the Torah didn't permit tzricha. But so you need both the psukim together. Rashi seems to say that the machlokes is when you have two psukim. One pasuk says that on the even for a mitzvah you're allowed to delay even looking at the person's body to become tamei, and the other pasuk says that by furniture, by the house becoming tamei over there, so then you're allowed to delay for a dvar rishus. You put both of them together. That since you see a little bit heter over here, a little bit heter over there, probably make one big package deal out of it, and you're even allowed to delay on the neg on a person also for the dvar rishus, or you don't make that combination and say that since you see the heter over there for the dvar rishus, we're going to apply it also to the chomer nega. It comes out that everybody seems to come out that everybody agrees that for a mitzvah you're allowed to delay, like our cases of a chasan and a regel, you're allowed to delay even looking at a tumah on a person or a beged, and everybody agrees that by the house, which is a chiddush, the whole tumah of a house is a chiddush, that you're allowed to delay even for the Rishus. And the Malchokis is if you're allowed to apply the heter of Rishus also to the tum on a person and a garment, is a mutter to delay that also. The case would be for the Rishus, you want to delay looking at a person's nega, not because of a mitzvah of the regel and a fasan, other consideration why it's not convenient for him to become tamei today. So maybe you're allowed to delay. So that seems to be a focus between these two tanan. The rest of the Gemara now just goes back to explain the drasha we said, Uvayom Hera Ozbo. He said that the pasuk says on the day that the nega is seen, is checked. So the fact that the pasuk says Uvayom, that's the drasha to say that not every day do you have to check. And there the Gemara said a chasan and the regal, that was the drasha Uvayom Hera Ozbo. So the Gemara goes back just to open up what the drasha was exactly. There are some days that you have to check, some days you don't have to check, and that was the chasan and the regal. And the Gemara says, Mei Mashma, what's the mashmos of the drasha? What do you see? What's extra? What's extra in the pasuk over Yom Hera Ozbo? So the Gemara is going to say that just marked it over here. The machlokes is going to be, is it the whole word that's extra? Over Yom Hera Ozbo. It could have just said over Hera Ozbo, or is it the vav that maybe the word biyom is extra is necessary for something else, and the drasha is us from the vav. That's going to be the machlokes of Ayin Rava if where the drasha is. From where is the drasha? Amar Abaye, in Kain L'chtav Rachmana Biyom. It should have said Biyom Hera Ozbo. Means Abaye does need the word Biyom. But my ubiyom, what's the extra word of the extra letter? That's a drash. Shmamino yeshom shata robo, yeshom shiata robo. From there, learn out that some days you don't have to look at it by the chasan and the regal. But Rava says the whole word is extra. Rava Oma Kula Kra Yisayru, the whole pasuk ubiyom. Then came L'chtav Rachmana ube Hera Oz. It didn't have to say ubiyom Hera Ozbo. So the whole word is extra. My ubiyom. Shmamino yeshom shata robo, yeshom shiata robo. So everybody agrees that the drash is going to be that some days you don't look at the nega, like the regular and the chasan. The question is, what's the source of the drasha? Is it the whole word is extra, or only the vav is extra and the word is necessary? So the rest of the Gemara is going to be to explain why Abaye thinks that you need the word. That the word biyom is not extra, it's necessary for a drasha. Abaye, that the word biyom is taken up for a drasha already because there's a din that you're not supposed to check the nega on the nighttime. The kohen that comes to check the nega has to dafka check in the daytime. So the word biyom is necessary to tell you this halacha. So what's extra? Only the vav. The vav is extra. But Rava says that I don't need the word biyom. The biyom, I don't need the word at all. Biyom v'lo b'layla minalei. How does he know this halacha that you're not allowed to check the nega during the night, only in the day? A different pasuk. Nafkalei melachol ma'arei and kohen. The pasuk says that it's talking about that whatever the kohen sees, it seems to be that it spread. It didn't spread. So, but the pasuk, the way it expresses itself to the appearance and the eyes of the kohen, the whole ma'arei, whatever the kohen could see. The kohen could see means that it's the Gemara's dashing. It's a drash to say they has to be able to see it well, and it means in the daytime. At night, night is the same way as saying dark. We're going to soon talk about that. Of course, you want to put on the light. We don't think that you're going to see it at night if you can't see. Here, the pasuk says that the chol ma'arei kohen means that the kohen has to be able to see in the light of the daytime. So Rabbi says, I know the drush already. I know this halacha that you have to see it in the daytime. I don't need the word for biyom for that. So the whole word biyom is extra. But Abaye thinks that you do need the word, even though it says l'chol ma'arei kohen. You still need the pasuk of biyom to tell you that you have to check the neg in the daytime. That's a different drasha. To say l'chol ma'arei kohen is to tell you that it has to be visible to the eyes of the kohen. Means the kohen has to be able to see with both eyes. If he's blind, even in one eye, of course, if he's blind in both eyes, he can't see. That's no question. But he's blind in one eye. Also, Abaye says that this pasuk tells you that he's not kosher. The kohen is not kosher to check the nega since he can't see with both eyes. But you don't see you have to see dafka in the daytime. Maybe at nighttime also would be kosher, so you have to have the pasuk of biyom. And Rava thinks still that you don't need all these psukim. But that's a most kasha. Rava also should need this pasuk to say that a person who's blind in one eye is not kosher to check the nega. Doesn't Rava also have to agree that he needs the pasuk to say that a person, a kohen who's blind in one eye is not kosher to check? So the Gemara gives it, and you're right. Given that l'chol ma'arei kohen is necessary for the blind man, for the one eye blind. So Rava's not going to argue. So it comes back to kasha that how do you know that you're not allowed to check in the daytime? L'chor you need biyom. Why does Rava say that the word biyom is extra? He also needs it to say that dafka in the daytime. Ella biyom v'lo b'layla minalei. Back to the question: how does Rava know that you have to check dafka in the daytime? And therefore he says that the word biyom is extra. This is the pasuk. That the person, when he comes, the owner of the house, when he comes to the kohen, he comes and he says that it seems to be a nega. That's what the pasuk describes. Now that's what it seems to me. And he asked the Kohen to please come and check it and pass it on it. So the fact that it says li nira li babois, the word it could have said mekinega nira babois. A nega, it seems to be a nega in the house. What does it mean? It seems to me li velola ori, that the whole way that you look at a nega is only li to the person. What does it mean? Velola ori, without any artificial help. It has to be that he looked at it, means in the daytime without having putting on a light, putting on a fire, a light, that it has to be visible to him himself. So from here, Rava sees from this pasuk that the appearance of the nega has to be natural to the person in the daylight without any artificial help. So he says, I don't need a pasuk besides this to tell me that it has to be dafka in the day. This is the pasuk. This pasuk says it has to be seen to the person without any help. So it has to be in the daytime. So I don't need the pasuk of bayom. So the whole word of bayom was extra. That was what Rava said, that the whole word bayom is extra here to tell you this drasha that some days you don't look at it because it's the chag or it's the chasan. But Abaya still thinks that you do need the pasuk about ubiyom. Only the vav is going to be extra, because over there it's talking about the neg on the house. We can nearly be voice is talking about, like it says, but voice is talking about that the person comes to the Kohen, he says it seems to be a neg on the walls of the house. So by the walls of the house, we said a couple of times in this page that the whole tumah is a chiddush, because usually the house doesn't become tameh, even tumas mace, the house doesn't become tameh. So the fact that here by negoim the house does become tameh, that's a chiddush, that's a kind of a chiddush tikatuma. And over there it could be that the Torah has leniencies. And over there it says that it's only if you see it perfectly, naturally, without any artificial help. Over there it's going to become tummy. But if you put on a light and you see the nega, that's not considered a psak on the house. But if it would be a tum on a person, then a person becomes tummy is understandable. The whole Torah, the tum of a person becomes tummy. So over there you might say that it's chamur, and we're going to say that it's tummy, even if it was only seen by artificial help, by a light, and you're allowed to check the nega even at night. So you need another pasuk to say that you don't check the nega even on a person. That was the pasuk to say over yom he'ro'os bo. Over there it's talking about the nega on a person, not on the house. And he says that this word b'yom is necessary to tell you that you only could check it in the daytime. If you see it at nighttime, it doesn't make it into a nega. And the only thing that's extra is going to be the vav. So it comes out that whole Gemara doesn't have any enough commitment al halacha. Everyone agrees, Abayin Rava, they're in agreement. They're all the way down there in agreement. The only machlokes is, do you need a pasuk? You don't need a pasuk. Rava. Everyone agrees to the same things. The halacha that comes out, everybody agrees that there's permission to delay checking the nega if there's a regel or the Shiva Simei Mishnah. You don't have to check the nega right away. And everyone agrees that a person, the Kohen who's blind in one eye, is not kosher to check the nega. It has to be two eyes. Everybody agrees that you have to check the nega dafka in the daytime, both if it's on the person or if it's on the house. And the only question is on the drushes, how you manipulate, how you use the drushes. You have to have a special pasuk for something, and then only the vav is extra, or the whole word is extra. But nobody seems to be arguing. It's only what the Gemara calls mashmos darshan nikibinayim, only how to darshan. But nobody argues on the facts.
Besides that, besides for the not Kohen with one eye, besides that, he's a kosher Kohen for everything else.
I'm sorry, is he a kosher Kohen? If he's blind, maybe that would be a mum. But that would be a mum as far as it's a bal mum. It wouldn't be kosher to do avoda. But you don't have to have, but a bal mum, another kind of mum, he has some kind of mum that he's not kosher to do the avoda, but he could check the negoim. He's kosher to check a nega. But at this point, that his eyes, he needs his eyes to be able to see well, to see what the nega is. So there, even if he sees with one eye, that's not enough. The Torah wants he should have two eyes. Right, because like any kind of a bal mum, he would be puzzled to work in the Beis Hamikdash. But he's a Kohen, and all the other lachas, the bal mum also is not allowed to marry a grusha, whatever it would be by a Kohen. He could eat kachim, a bal mum's allowed to eat kachim, but there's a din about checking a nega, so other mumim don't bother us, but the mum of his eyes do bother us because he doesn't see well. Okay, everyone's
the pasuk, that last pasuk was Keneged Ner Eli B'Bayit. That's the end.
Right.
And then what do we do with the li?
So that li v'lola ori, that he has to be able to see it. He sees it himself, not that he sees it together with the help of artificial light.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
So that would imply that he has to check it after in the day when the sunlight is enough. That's called that he's seeing it himself without any artificial help. And everyone agrees that pasuk is a good drush for that. But Abai says you need another drush to tell you the same Allah applies to nega on the body, not only on a house, even on a person's skin. Also, it becomes a nega if the Kohen sees it in the natural daylight, not that he sees it with the help of fire or any kind of artificial light. Okay, so that's the sugya. Everyone seems to be in agreement. Yes.
Yeah, just a question of the chiddush. For you don't learn the chiddush. Rashi seems to be saying the first Rashi on the daf, the Ches, it says the Ha'etzim Pshute Kli Eitz from the Kabbalah to me.
Interesting. I would have thought, I didn't notice that. I would have thought that it doesn't mean because Shute Kliyates. It means the fact that it's Mechuber. The house that's Mechuber, that's the reason why it's not Makabel Tuma. And even if it would not be Shute Kliyates, even if we would have some kind of base kibble also, the house is not Makabel Tuma. So I didn't notice that, Rashi. Okay, I hear. Thank you.
No, I mean, nafkamina, like you said, in terms of oil mace. There's a mace in the house.
The truth is, the house does not become tummy. The house does not become tummy. Tumas olim, color is only Samuel Pishton, like it says. The Tumas olim. That's more on Shabbos over there by Daf Chafei. I think that it talks about Tumas olim. In Perik, remember, people say Tumas olim. That means that the oil itself becomes tummy. When a mace is in a house, the house doesn't become tummy. The contents of the house becomes tummy, but the house itself doesn't become tummy. Only by Tumas olim, and that it says Daf Ketzemer and Pishton, things that you learn out over there by the Mishkan. So, and or maybe and leather also, the things that the Mishkan was made, that the roof of the Mishkan is made out of, as far as I remember.
Some apostles say
Some apostles something else, that the contents could become saved, but the contents usually becomes tummy, but the house itself doesn't become tummy, the house itself. And here the house becomes tummy. Tyson points out also the stones also, usually stones are not makabel tumah, and here the stones do become tummy. That's a chiddush of a house of a nega. Okay, next Mishnah, new subject about Chol HaMoed. Now we're going into things that don't have to do with, we said already, the Mishnah before already also is not about Malacha and Chol HaMoed, because we spoke about checking a nega, that it's going to cause the person distress, that he's going to be tummy during the Moed, so we're allowed to push it off. That was the Mishnah before. We're talking about subjects that are not dafka about work on Chol HaMoed, but other issues about Chol HaMoed. Here goes the issue. Is a person allowed to collect the bones, for example, of his father, mother? So Rashi talks about a case where he wants to transfer. He's transferring the mace that was buried in one place. He wants to transfer someplace else. Rashi gives an example of Kibbutz Avosov, that first he was buried in a different place. He wants to bury him in a place in the family plot. That's Rashi's case. So the more Pashup Pshat in Rashi would be that it says in Maseches Mochos, I think, that the way that they used to was a standard procedure in those days was that they would bury about a year, and then the flesh would disintegrate, and it just would be bones, and then they would transfer the bones. That was like standard procedure in those days, not because the transferring was someplace else, but I don't know what the purpose was, but that's what they used to do. They used to temporarily bury for about a year until the mace would. Is the word disintegrate? Is that the word? And then they would the bones alone they would be buried. So here that's called likudat somos. On the day that the person likudat somos, that he collects the bones, so there's a certain there's avelus on that day. One day avelus that's going to be coming up. The Gemara is going to mention that there's since it's a chiddush. The fact means of course he's an oval already for a year. It could be 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. But the fact that they took out the bones out of the grave, so he has avelus for that one day. So here the question is it mutter to do it on Chol HaMoed? Because it's a sad thing. So maybe not make if a person dies, he dies. But here he didn't die; he's already buried. Just to take out the bones and to rebury him is a mutter to do it on Chol HaMoed. So Rameir says that it's permissible because he's happy about it. He's happy about it. The mourner, the relative that's doing it, the son, he's happy that according to the Rashi's pshat, because he's transferring him to the family plot, that's the reason why he's happy, or that this was the fact that now it's going to be a permanent burial, that's the reason why he's happy. So the Gemara is going to explain that it means that it counters the fact that there is avelus, of course, the fact that he takes out the bones, so it does rouse in him the mourning, but the fact that he's happy about what's happening, that it's going to be a permanent burial in a good place, in a better place, so that's why it's permissible on Chol HaMoed. Rabbi Yossi Omer Evel Hilo. Rabbi Yossi doesn't agree; it's considered a mourning, so therefore don't do it. So Machlokes is a mutter to do it on Chol HaMoed. Rabbi Meir Tanakama says yes. Rabbi Yossi says no.
Today, you don't go to cemeteries on Chol HaMoed to sleep.
It's permissible to go. It's I don't know that it's us. It's not going to be like this. That is taking out the bones. That's not much like main stuff in the morning. But is it mutter? I think it's mutter. I don't know for sure. I can't. I don't think that it's usher. Maybe it's not the custom because a happy day. So, but I don't think that it's us. If it will be a yard side or something, people don't go. People don't go on a yard side if it comes out of Chol HaMoed. They would. And you don't go. Okay. But I don't think that it's usher. Okay.
The Volkatcher said if you go to a kever on Chol HaMoed, if there's a Sarah and you have to be mispal and you want to
But either it's also even if not, I don't know if they're saying that it's usher more like it's not in the spirit of the Chag. Okay. And then there's a new Mishnah. It's like really two Mishnahs. It has similar subjects. They put it together over here. The word orer is to be mitorer, to be aroused. The person cannot get aroused on his dead relative, and also not to eulogize within 30 days of the regel. So we'll see right away the Gemara. The Pashas in the Gemara, Rashi says differently, but we seem to pass on like Rashi. So let's say the Gemara, the way we paskin, that it's usher if there's a levaya, if there's an actual funeral that he's being buried. So then there's mutter to make a hesped within 30 days. It's only usher to do hesped on Chol Hamoed, on Yantif on Chol Hamoed. Then there's no hesped then. But there's no hesped within 30 days. But here it's talking about that it's already he died already before. So if he died already before, now they want to make a hesped. So then it's usher to make a hesped within 30 days of the Chag. So if the Chag is 15th of Nisan, so from the 15th of Adar, it would be usher to make a hesped for someone who died earlier. If it's b'shas the hesped, b'shas the levaya, so then it's mutter. Even like the poskim say, even every yontif, it's mutter to make a hesped. It's only usher during the moed. But here it's talking about that he didn't die now. He died already, and they're making a hesped. If it's going to be, sometimes people make a hesped 7 days after 30 by the shloshim. So, or also probably it means on the yard side. So here it says that it's usher to make a hesped for someone who died earlier within 30 days. So within 30 days of Pesach, within 30 days of Sukkot, within 30 days of Shavuos, the 3 Chagim. So it'll be usher to make a hesped for someone who died earlier. And we don't know why yet. The Gemara is going to talk about why. So back to the beginning, two Mishnahs. One is about Likud Hatzamos, and one is about Orer Adam and hesped. We have to know the difference between the two. A person shouldn't get aroused over his mace, and he shouldn't eulogize him. Is it the same thing? We'll see that there are 2 points about that. The Gemara continues. It says here that according to Meir, it's a simcha. It sounds like it's not an avelos. If you read the Mishnah, I said a pshat already, that simcha ilo means there's an aspect of happiness which cancels out the avelos. But the Gemara took it, the words say that it's happy. So it says that the day of Likud Hatzamos is considered a mourning, that even though they didn't die now, they died a long time ago, but now that he's, what is the word to take out the bones? Is this word for it to exhume?
Yeah, exhume.
So it's considered avelos. So what are you saying in the Mishnah? Rameir doesn't hold to that. Rameir holds that it's a simcha and there's no avelos. The Brisa says that he seems to agree also that there is avelos the whole day, 1 day avelos. At night already there's no avelos, only that 1 day. The Gemara throws in something which is not relevant to us, but it brings the halacha already. A lot of times the Gemara does that. Question how to learn this Gemara. The words mean even if the bones are wrapped in a bag, so in a sheet. That what does that mean? That so the Mepharshim seem to say one shot would be that even if he didn't do the actual exhuming, he didn't do it, but he has avelos that day. And the other way would be the other shot would be that even if he slams the bones at night, he still doesn't do avelos, even if he didn't yet what would be the word? He didn't rebury it. Isn't that word for that also? Probably reinturn. So either way, that this halacha applies no matter if he has the bones, he doesn't have the bones, and it's even if he's the one who did the exhuming or not, somebody else did it. The day that the bones are collected, so the relatives have a din of mourning. At night they don't. That's not again this point of the parentheses here. That is put in parentheses to show that it's not part of the Gemara's issue. But the kasha is that it is a day of mourning. How could Rameir doesn't hold that? Rameir holds that it's not a day of mourning, it's only happiness. It doesn't mean that it's happiness. It doesn't mean, I said wrong. In the Mishnah, I said wrong. I said that simchi lo means that it is a happiness. He's happy about it. So that the Gemara says, no, it's avelos. It is considered avelos. But simchi lo means that the avelos is countered by the regel, and it doesn't affect them so much. It means the issue is we want him to be happy during the regel, during the holiday, he's supposed to be happy. And the problem is that he's doing something which is going to cause him mourning. So Abaye says, as Meir says, as Abaye explains, that the fact that it's the yontif, he doesn't take it so hard. It doesn't get so emotional about it because it's the yontif. So therefore, it's not enough to make an issa. But Meir says not because it's a happiness. I thought the Mishnah, the Pashut, the words mean that it's a happiness that he's reinterring and exhuming and reinterring his relative's body. But that the Gemara says no, it is considered avelos. But the point is that it's not enough of an avelos to counter the Chag. The Chag is a happy day, and it's not enough to dampen it, and therefore it's permissible. And Rabbi Yossi says that it's usher, he passes like Rabbi Yossi, Evelilo, and therefore it's usher to do that on Chol Hamoed. I guess the halach would be also that nowadays they don't do this, they don't do likat atzamos, but they do transfer a mace sometimes to a different burial, and even to kibbutz yobo, so Teres Yisrael. So that seems that it's asa chol moed. They push it off doing it do it after the moed. Then it says halacha, the second part of the mission of lo ya'arer al meso and lo yaspidenu. What is lo yaspidenu? We know that it means that hesped. What is ya'arer al meso? My lo ya'arer. The mission says a little different. Ya'orer, different gears. Ya'orer, and here it says ya'arer. Okay, whatever the gears is. My lo ya'arer al meso amarav. So he has an Aramaic expression over here. Kathadas afdana b'marava amri yivkani mei kol meriri liba. When the safdan is a eulogizer. Nowadays they don't have it's a lost art nowadays. It used to be that there'd be a safdan. A safdan is somebody who knows how to eulogize, knows how to cry, knows how to be more everybody to cry. So there'd be a safdan. Nowadays usually they just have speeches, but not afka safdan. He's a darshan. He's not a safdan. But a safdan would be a way, art of a eulogizer. So when the eulogizer would go around in the West and Eretz Yisrael, the minhag was they would say Yivkuni mei kol meriri liba. All those that are bitter of heart should cry together with him. It means that when a thing's going on, let's say there's a hesped of somebody else, and there would be me maspid, so then other people that also had sorrows or has paid them, so what?
I mean, the person has to cry about the tzara. Why the just Levi?
So I don't know if it's a Levi dafka, but it's a hesped. Because I think the point is we didn't have a spedim nowadays. We don't have a spedim. We have speeches, divrei Torah, all kinds of things. It's not a hesped. No, I mean, it has to be aroused. The person, in order to cry, he has to be aroused. There has to be somebody that knows how to be more rare. Like the Gemara says, Achim li b'haspedoi, that he told the safdan before he died. He said, make sure you do a good hesped. That they used to have also. They used to use chalilim. They used to use flutes. It used to be a matzav that they made. The people would cry. You had the ma'anos, tapkos, mesapkos, mekonanos. You had all kinds of. Nowadays they don't do it, and people don't cry so much. There shouldn't be any reason to cry, but there's an art of how people are aroused to cry. So when a person has the opportunity, so they used to say that when there's hesped going on, so then people, I don't know if it's during the Levi or not, that other people came, but people would cry with all people that had a meriwa slave or for their relatives. So it's also kind of a hesped, but it's tafel to somebody. It's a secondary that he adds. He's nitpal to somebody else. So that's called yarer al meso. That not that he's making a hesped for his personal reason, but there's a hesped going on, and he's attaching himself to that. And the yaspidenu means a hesped on its own. The hesped. So both of them are asa. But the Mishnah says, when is it asa? Within 30 days of the regel. Why? Why should it be asa within 30 days? He's not doing it during the regel. What's the problem? What's the problem to make a hesped within 30 days? And again, we said it's not talking about the Shasta Levaya, that they bring down the Rishonim, they bring down that during the Levaya, sure, it's mutter to say hesped within 30 days. But if it's an old mace, he died already before. Don't make a hesped now within 30 days. What's the problem? Amar Rav Kana, here it says Amar Rav Kana, Amar Yud Amar Rav. The gears on the side says Amar Rav Kana ve'amri la. So either Rav Kana said this, or some say that Rav Yud Amar Rav said it. There was a story that a person, he gathered money, he was saving up money to go to Ola Regel. It cost money to be Ola Regel. So in the times of the base of Mikdash, they'd be Ola Regel, so they saved up money. Basafdan, Ba'amad, Al Pesach Bezo, Vinataltan Ishto, Vinasanasan Lo. Vinimna Velo Allah. And then a Saftan came, and it wasn't always opportunity that a Saftan came, and they wanted to make a hesped. Again, it's talking about a case, not that it was a hesped to Shasta Levaya, but whatever reason it was, Shloshim, Yotzai, whatever it was, the Saftan came, and he was available, and the wife of this person, she had emotional need, and she took the money that was saved up for the Yom Tif, and they gave it to the Saftan. It cost money. The Saftan cost money, and they didn't have enough money for the Chag. They didn't go to be Ola Regel. The poskim say not to have Ola Regel. Also nowadays that is no Ola Regel, but also whatever people save up money for the Chag, it costs money, extra expense for the Chag. So we don't want within 30 days. That's the time when people are saving up money for the Chag. We don't want them to spend it on something. So these extra expenses, this is something that's very emotional and sentimental. So people they're not rational, and they lose calculations and cheshbon, and they're going to spend the money that's saved up for the regel, use it for the saftan. So therefore, that's when they instituted this halacha not to make a hesped within 30 days, so that people shouldn't lose their money that they saved for the chag. The Gemara is going to say soon, this is only in a place where they pay money for the saftan. It costs money. If it doesn't cost money, so then there's no chashash. Nowadays, I don't know. There's no saftan nowadays. It doesn't cost money either. But there's no saftan. But yes. What is that? They do pay the Rav. Okay. But I don't know if it's this kind of expense. I don't know how much it costs.
And also-
This kind of expense.
Also, you like take money for doing the mitzvah.
Are you allowed to take money for doing a mitzvah? I think the orator, if he doesn't have to go. He doesn't have to go to every levaya. Like if they want him to come, so then they have to do it. I think the orator for not huge sums, but it must be something that's considered
No,
an
it sounds like a big sum.
A big sum,
She's just taking a little bit of money, saving for the yom tov.
They say it
Unless
depends what kind of hesped you want. For this amount of money, you get such a hesped. You want it to be a real tzaddik, then it costs more money. That's the joke that they say. I don't know. But that was one man the Amar. Ushmol Amar, that was Rav. I think that was Rav so far. Where's the next one? They say if you give them enough money, you won't recognize them. Ushmol Amar, Lefi. A different shot that when he's going to be aroused about the grief of his relative that died, so there's kind of a lasting effect for 30 days. The lasting effect for 30 days after they made a hesped, the relative could have been a long time ago. He died a year ago, but now they're going to make a hesped, so he gets all aroused, a good saftan, and then he's going to be in agony, in grief for the next 30 days. We don't want him to be sad on the yontif. So within 30 days, we don't want there should be a hesped that's going to cause him, that has lasting effect till the chag. So two different reasons altogether. The first reason was that he shouldn't lose his money that's saved up during the 30 days. Second reason is that he shouldn't have the effect of the hesped that should cause him grief during the chag. My benayu, ik benayu, the covered bechina. What will be the ramification of this if it's for free? According to the first reason of Rav, it's for free, so there's no question of losing money. So you'd be allowed to make hesped for free. Only you can't pay. But according to Shmuel, the problem is the grief that he's going to have. Then it's also even if it was for free. The post can talk about who you paskin like, and Taisa says paskin like Rav, but the post can remind the paskin like Shmuel. And some say it's not Rav. We said before that maybe it was Rav Kana, maybe it was not Rav Yudam Rav. So the post can paskin like Shmuel, and it's also even if it's for free, you're not allowed to make a hesped within 30 days. Do people know that? That it's also to make a hesped within 30 days? If there's a yard side or a shloshim or a shiva that's within 30, that you can't make a hesped within from the Purim, from 15 days in Adar, and from 15 days in Elul, and from make the cheshbon 30, whatever it is, 30 days before Shavuos. So it's also to make a hesped if it's not on by the levaya. I don't know if people know. I don't know if people know this. I vaguely remember. I don't remember exactly, but I just remember that Rav Moshe and Rav Yaakov that were nifter Chodesh Adar and 13th and Adar. So I think according to what Allah says over here, it will be also to make hesped after Purim. They make hespedim sometimes after Shiva, after 30 Shloshim Yom. So it will be also. It's also to make hesped not only Chodesh Nisan. It's also from Purim, and from Tesla Bello. It's also to make a spade, also to make older spadim. It's brought down in the Shulchan Aruch.
But Moshe was buried here on.
Yeah. So Shasta Levi, even on Purim, right? Even on Purim, right? But as far as making hesped, a couple of days later, after Shiva, whatever.
You're talking about every year now.
Every year, right? And even that year also to make hesped. When Shiva was over, whatever, 22nd day, whatever of Adar. That it's within 30 days, and it's not a hesped right now about a levaya. So I'm pretty sure that Allah is that it's also. Okay. I don't know if people know that. Yeah, it's a Shulchan Aruch. I noticed the Tav Kuf Mem Zayin. It's put on a Shulchan Aruch that by Hilchos Chol Moed that it's also to make a hesped within 30 days. Is that where it is? Tav Kuf Mem Zayin. Okay, look it up again, but I think that's where it is. What does it say over here? Aleph. Does he? Oh, that means a Rambam over here. Tav Kuf Mem Zayin Sif Yud Aleph. I think that's where. 1 second. That's to see the Shulchan Aruch over here. This is Dalit over here, just to see what our makom is. Tov Kuf Mem Zayin Sif Gimel. So I think it's what it says. I think that's the halacha. I don't know. The mice what people do. I'm not sure. Okay. Yes.
So just one thing, maybe the first Rashi on that Chesed days.
The first Rashi, the Fishain.
Yeah.
The Fishain, the mace Mishtakech Man Alev Shloshim Yom Klamachim. The mace Mishtakech Man Alev Shloshim Yom. Since the mace is not forgotten for 30 days, it must be the Pachas B'Shloshim Yom. Lefnei Regel, Asi L'Mitzvah B'Regel, Adayin Lo Shachol. If he's Rashi says that if he's going to make hesped within 30 days, he's going to make hesped again during the regel. I don't think it means that. He thinks he's going to be sad. He's going to be sad. If he's going to make hesped within 30 days, he'll be sad.
Big nafkamina halacha. Yeah, I mean, these two drachim that you have, that it's a big nafkamina halacha. It's just his personal. He definitely could make another hesped during Chalamoid because.
But it's also.
Elapsed.
No. It's also to make hesped within 30 days. Why? The question is why.
Go ahead.
But that doesn't make a difference as far as the halacha. That it's also to make a hesped within 30 days before the Chag. I'm saying the reason is because he might be sad, or Rashi seems to say because he might make another hesped. But that doesn't change any halacha. You're not allowed to make a hesped within 30 days. That's the only question what the reason is, but how to read the Rashi. But it's also to make hesped within 30 days. That seems to be the halacha. Okay, if anybody finds out differently, please let me know. The Mishnah continues. It's also to dig a grave. Now, of course, if they need the grave, nowadays they don't dig graves beforehand. I think that's the custom that they don't dig a grave. They say that it's not good to dig a grave if nobody died. It's like a bad sign that someone would die. So I think the custom is that they don't dig the kever. And nowadays it isn't so hard because they have bulldozers and it doesn't take long to dig out a grave. But in those days that there was a big deal to dig out a grave by hand. So they used to prepare graves. And they didn't have this problem that someone might die because of a bad omen or something like that. So they used to dig graves before in case it'll be for when it'll be needed, if and when it'll be needed. So the law is that you're not allowed to dig graves on Chol HaMoed. Even though you consider it Tzorchei Tzibur, it might be that that's called, of course, each grave is only for one person, but that means that Tzibur needs, the Chevra Kadisha is taking care of the needs of the town and they need graves, but you're not allowed to do that during the moed. So it says two things, Kuchen and Kvaros. Now, usually the word Kuchen that they use, if one's going to say something about Kuchen and Kvaros, but the simple word of what Kuchen means is that the way they used to bury, and they started doing it again now because of lack of space, so they would dig into the wall, a deep hole, and they would put the mason sign. That's what they do nowadays also. They have harmanuchas, they're making it. So that was the old system, how they used to make, they have like a ma'ora, like a cave, and you go into the cave and then on the sides of the walls, you don't see the whole length of the cave. You'd only see the one by one, whatever, 1 amma by 1 amma, and it was 4 ammas deep, and they would put the mason inside. Well,
This would be in the mountain, or like you say, cave.
right. Well, they cave that they go on the ground and then they dig out to the sides. And all the old form are like that. My Chavusa, he's a tour guide, and he says you see it all over Eretz Yisrael. All the old ancient graves are all kuchen. So, and the kever is a grave. That would be the simple shot of digging down a grave. The Gemara is going to say something else, and that's why I wanted to say the simple words, but the word usually is referred to as a kuch. And other Gemaras also talk about kuchen in the walls. So it says you're not allowed to dig them out on the moed. Of course, that there's no mason that needs it. If you have to bury somebody, of course you're allowed to. But it is permissible. So the Gemara is going to say that it means to adjust. That means that it's already dug out, more or less it's dug out, but the finishing touches, that's permissible to do, again, even though nobody needs it, but that's permissible to do because it's considered like a Maisa Hediot, and we said that a Maisa Hediot is permissible for Tzorchei Tzibur, even though it's not Tzorech HaMoed, even though nobody needs it now, but it's only a Maisa Hediot. The actual digging out, that's like heavy work, that's asa. But just to fix it up, some tikkunim or renovations over there, that's permissible, even though it's not necessary for the moed. Another halacha, also nevreches b'moed. You're allowed to make a nevreches. What's a nevreches? So it's not so clear what a nevreches is. They do bring down, the Mepharshim bring down that in other places, in Maseches Baba Basra, over there it says nevreches hakopsin, which is some kind of a ditch that they would have for washing clothing, and they would fill it up with water. And the question is, and that's strange that it comes in the middle of the Mishnah over here, because the Mishnah is still talking about something about the dead. It talks about a grave, then talks about a coffin right away. The next thing, so to stick in the washing bin over here, right in the middle, would be strange that the Mishnah would have organized it like that. So they want to say that's talking about something about the burial. Taisva says, Upshat, that it has something to do with the burial. Yes, Taisva says, that it was some kind of a well that they used in order to wash the dead man, or the tachrich, to wash the tachrichin, that's also some kind of burial purpose. The first part he says is talking about a dish for washing clothing, and okay, if that's what the Mishnah means, so then it comes in not in order over here. But if you say it's talking about something about the mace, so it's more fitting that Mishnah is talking about that. So it says it is permissible to make that in the moed. So it must be that why is it permissible? Even though again they don't need it right now, but you have to say that it's considered tzorchei rabim, and it's not such a difficult thing to make, so therefore it's permissible. The next thing is about building the coffin. So according to the Tanna Kama, it's permissible to make it as long as the mace is right there. If he's just he's working with wood, they're putting planks together to make a oron, so then it's usher because no one knows what he's doing. Maybe he's building a closet. But if the mace is right there, so then it's permissible because they know what he's doing. I imagine that it means, I don't know, that by in the funeral home, that's what they're doing over there. That's what they make. But here it's mashma A little bit different than I said. Here it sounds like the whole Mishnah I said is talking about that they don't need it on the moed. Here they do need it in the moed. Here they need it in the moed. Someone's there. The mace is there. They're burying him. But even that's I didn't realize when I prepared that even if they do need it now, but it's only mutter if the mace is right there, that people should understand that he's not just making a closet. That's like Marasayan. And even that, Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's usher only if the planks are already made. Means if the planks are made, he's putting together the planks. That's mutter if the mace is there. But according to the Tanna Kama, it would be mutter even without the planks. Means even if he has to take the logs of wood in order to make the planks, Tanna Kama says it's mutter as long as the mace is there. Rabbi Yehuda says no, it's only mutter if they're ready planks. To take the planks and to nail them together in order to make a coffin, that's mutter if the mace is there, but not more than that. Means that if he has to do more, then Rabbi Yehuda wouldn't permit it. What are they supposed to do if they don't have Oren? The mace is right there. He's dead. It's not like just preparing for the future. So it sounds like, I don't know, you bury him without an Oren, then it doesn't say what you do. But Rabbi Yehuda hold that if you don't have the planks, you're not allowed to make the coffin, even if the mace is right there.
I'm sorry, if you don't have the planks, how do you make the art?
You take the log and you make a plank out of it. You take, you have logs. There's there. And nowadays they just order the planks, but there's also the factory where you have to take the log and then you have to shave it down to make it into a plank, and then you take the plank. So the earlier stage, Tanna Kama says is also mutter as long as the mace is right there. Do whatever you have to do. And Rabbi Yehuda says that's us. That's too much work, even if the mace is right there. It's only mutter. If you have planks, then you're allowed to put them together if the mace is there. My kuchen and my kvaros. What is the difference between a kuchen and a kever? So I said a pshat, but the Gemara doesn't seem to say that. Rabbi Yehuda kuchen bechafira kvaros bebinyan. That the kuchen means you dig it out, and the kvaros means that you would build it. I don't know exactly what does it mean you build it. It would seem a little bit like nowadays. How do they make the kuchen nowadays? They build a building and they make compartments. So that's not, they're not just digging out what's there already. You're not digging out into the mountain. You're building it in a way that now you have compartments with it in order to put the mace. The regular thing we would say at a kever is in the ground, like we have that's what the basic kvaros looks like nowadays. That is, you dig down into the earth, and it seems that's what it seems in our Gemara that they never did that. They never just buried dug a hole and put the mace down. They always put it into the wall. Because the Gemara doesn't. I would have thought kuchen is into the wall and kever is into the ground, straight down, like we do bigger kever. We wouldn't have the kasha. What's the difference between a kuchen and a kever? The Gemara says the difference is that this is digging and this is building. What does it mean building? That seems to be that you build what would be like an artificial cave. That you're going to build up the whole thing. That's what they do in our menuchas. They build the whole building and it has compartments, and that's how they made the kuchen, man-made kuchen. Not that digging into the mountain in order to make a kuch. They build up the whole thing. That's what the Gemara seems to say. Maybe I got it wrong, but that's what the word seems to say. The following is what's a kuch, what's a kever, kuchen b'chafira, kevaros b'binyan. That's what it seems to say. But it shouldn't be any halachic difference. The graves that they do nowadays is also the same thing. So it would say that you're not allowed to dig out graves in Chol Hamoed only if it's necessary to bury somebody. And it would be mutter to mechanchen, which means to do the finishing touches. Aval mechanchen es hakuchen. What does it mean to be mechanech? Ketzem mechanchen. Am Rav Yehuda shemoya orach b'katzro. B'masnisa tana marich bo that it's already dug out, but you're allowed to make it. If it's too long, you're allowed to shorten it. If it's too big, so then you could fill it up, whatever, in order to make it the right size. That's necessary. Or marich bo to make it longer, to make it wider, whatever you need in order to adjust it. But it's already dug out. The main thing is dug out already. The next thing was about on the brachas, which we said that it's some kind of a ditch, a well of water, which either is used to wash clothing or it's used to wash the mace or the tachlichin. Mind the brachas. What is it? So they knew what a bakia was. So he says, and the brachas is a bakia. We'll see in a second, 1-2 more lines. But Tanya and Nevreches Vabakia. How can you say that the Nevreches translation is a Bakia if it says someplace in the Brisa, the Nevreches and the Bakia? Obviously, it's not the same thing. It's two different things. Amrabai Vitem Rav Kana Gia Ubar Gia. So whatever the shot is going to be like a bigger pool and then a smaller pool next to it. For whatever reason, they had two different ones. Maybe one is going to be with the dirty water, and then they had one in order after you want to rinse it out. So then you have a cleaner water. Whatever the point would be, it's a main one and then a smaller one next to it. So again, what is this water for? The simple shot. I don't know if simple, but there's another word in Maseches Baba Basra that says Nevreches HaKopsin, something about a well of water that was used in order to wash clothing, like a washing machine. I don't get this picture at all. What am I supposed to see?
Oh, like
a pool of water.
Like a spoon. Look at the yard of the spoon.
A big pool and a small pool.
Right.
Okay. What is the picture behind that? I'm not sure what the picture is behind that. Okay. Probably no connection. Okay, a big pool and a small pool. And
for children, in other words,
right.
baby pool.
right, so here it's not going to be about we're in the middle of the Oren and the Techrichim together with the Kuchen. It would be very hard to say the Mishnah Swearing is something about a pool. Either it's going to be something about the washing. He says that it's washing the Techrichim or the mace, and there's a bigger pool and a smaller pool. Okay, so it's the application probably nowadays doesn't apply. We don't have these things nowadays, but the Pashpashat will be that it's Sorchei HaMace, and even though if it is a mace right now, Mishnah, I don't know if the Mishnah is talking about that, but it's just preparation of whatever they had, is necessary in the funeral home or in the basic forest. So it seems that it's Tzarchei Rabim and it's only considered a Maisa Hedyot. That's why it'd be permissible probably. The Mishnah continues about the Oren HaMace B'chotzes. We said according to Tanakama, it's permissible even if only the logs are there, and he's going to make the planks out of it in order to make the coffin. According to Rabbi Yehuda, only if he has the planks already, then it's mutter to make the coffin, but not if it's an earlier stage. We have a Mishnah which we just learned, which is in support of the Brisa, which says more the same thing, but the Gemara finds that the Mishnah says the same as the Brisa. What does it say? Osni kol tzorchei mace, goes to the lo saro, mechabson lo ksuso, osni lo oron, minasor na minusorin, ve'ev yomtet. So it's mutter on Chol HaMoed to do whatever the mace needs, which means that they'd be allowed to cut his hair, that after he died, in order to make him look well. So they cut his hair, and also to wash his clothing. That would be for the tachrichim, the shrouds, and also they're allowed to make the oron, but provided only that they're ready. It's nesarim hamanuson rev yomta, that it's already, the planks are already planed. Okay, planed before yontif. Means only if he has already the planks, then it's mutter. It's also permissible to bring wood, the logs of wood, in order to shave them down and to cut them, but that's not in public, only b'tzina b'sof beso. So this machlokes, the two opinions, Tanakama and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, is the same as an arm Mishnah, Tanakama and Rabbi Yehuda. Means Tanakama over here says Dafkin Asama Munusarim, that is like Rabbi Yehuda, that only if it's already planks. But the Tanakama of our Mishnah says it's much even more. It's like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, that even the logs would be mutter to make planks out of them. But it does say over here that it has to be b'sinah b'sof beso. It's not going to be outside in the courtyard. It should be dafka inside the house where people don't see. It shouldn't be too much of a what we call. It shouldn't be look like doing malacha on yantif. So in his house, that if people might hear him sawing whatever, but that's okay. He's doing it for the mace.
From Jews, after the person is dead, you can cut the hair and make them.
Yeah. Yes, I don't know Lamaisa. What do they do? I don't know Lamaisa what they do. But the Gemara talks about that. It's covered on mace. It's covered on mace.
So they kept the body up by the funeral.
No, even if not, it seems even if not. It seems even if not that it should be. It says the Gemara in Shabbos talks about this, that they do all these things, and it's considered covered on mace. That he should look presentable, even if nobody's going to be seeing him. You want to say maybe only because then maybe they used to see the mace. And now that they don't see him, so there's no reason to do it.
I know by the goyim.
They make what do they call it? The wake. They call it a wake.
Right, but I once met the guy's work of mine. His grandma. I saw when she was alive, and I saw when she was dead. I told the guy, "Your grandma looks a million times better than she was like." They did her hair up, and they put makeup on, and she looked beautiful. I said, "Can't believe it." She's dead.
Over there also depends how much they pay.
No, they take this very seriously.
Yeah. And I think they make the preservatives in a way that even a couple of days they call it a wake. That's what they. But I think that I don't know what they do in the Maisa. The Maisa and the Chevra Kadisha, if they do cut the nails and the hair, I don't know the Maisa if anybody knows. But it's permissible, and the Gemara they used to do it. It says that, but yeah, that's it. Yeah.
No, the Kiddush is the United on Chol HaMoed. It's so permissible, like
Yeah.
sounds like it has an importance.
Yeah.
Say like don't.
Yeah. So it is considered. It's considered covered on this.
Could be, I mean, I don't know these things. I'm just speculating, but nails and hair are in the head with clippers.
Okay, I mean, but you want to say some kabbalistic reason why maybe it's mutter. But the pashto is because I think it's also Masechah Shabbos. I'll try if I remember to look it up. Yes, please.
He has grows in the nails.
No, but whatever it was overgrown.
And then once they die, the hair doesn't go anymore.
Right, yeah.
And the nails don't go anymore.
No, everything's out. Yeah, for sure. Okay, I think there's something in Masechah Shabbos about it also, and if anybody knows, there's Sfarim also, Gesher Chaim, Sfarim like that would say what the customs are. If anybody knows, anybody who works in the Chevra Kadisha, probably easy to verify. Next Mishnah, Hey, nosim nashim b'moed. So it's also to marry on Chol Moed. So there's a mission later just to point out here, talking about Nisuin, and there's also Erison. Nowadays, everything's done together. The Erison and Nisuin, that the Erison is the actual Kedushin, which means giving the ring, the Shabbat Pruta, Reza Atmu Kudashasli, and the Nisuin is that they live together. So nowadays, that happens all in the same day. And even going in the chuppah, it's considered Nisuin, maybe, or the Cheder Yichel, or the Gosholi going at home at night. So that's called Nisuin. But in the old days, they used to separate them, and they'd make time. And nowadays, you just make engagement, and they call it a vart, but that's really nothing. It doesn't have any halachic binding. It's at most it's going to be a contract. They make tenom sometimes just to make a financial agreement that if the MA is going to back out, so then it's going to be a fine for the embarrassment that it caused the other side. But it's just like a financial agreement. But in the old days, they didn't do like that. They didn't make engagement. They've got kedushin, Ariat Mukudashasli, and she's his wife. But she still lived by her father's house. She's already married, and she's called a Murasa, now a Murasa. And then eventually, when they're ready, as long as it takes a year, whatever time they took in order to get ready, he should get a house, and she should get whatever she needs. So then they would marry. That's called Nisuin. So the Erison is mutter.
So if Chas V'Shalom, she could sleep with somebody else?
No, she's Chayiv Skila.
Chayiv
Chayiv Skila, mamash. Even more, after she's married, Nisuin, then it's only Chenek. But the Nam Barasa is Skila. That the punishment for having relations with a Nam Barasa is even more severe than a married woman. So that's
Though, no?
I'm sorry?
Only as a Nara?
Only if she's a Nara. Uh-huh. Only if she's a Nara. Yeah. But for sure it's Chayiv Misa. And why did they stop it? Probably because it was dangerous to have a married woman that's not living with her husband. But that was really the way to do it. That's really the ideal way to do it. So later on, here it doesn't say, but later on it's going to say that it's mutter to do Erison on Moed because it's important that he should get the wife and nobody else should take her. He wants to make sure that she's not going to back out. That's mutter to do on Chol Moed. Here's talking about the Nisuin, the second stage. The second stage of marriage that she's coming to live with him, which is what we call usually Achnasas Kala. Nowadays, Achnasas Kala is a tzedakah fund. But Achnasas Kala really means bringing the Kala, the procession, when she went from her father's home to her husband's home. That's the actual consummation of the marriage. So that's called Nisuin. So here it says that's also to do on Chol Moed. Look.
It's just yichud.
That they live together. They live together. The actual.
But that's why you have yichud.
Yeah, so some say the yichud room. Yeah, the poskim say they really yichud room doesn't have to be yichud in it. It has to be chnasal l'shusa. That really they make the Ashkenazim do yichud. That's not wanting to do yichud, and they say that luckily you don't really need it. It doesn't have to be mamash with yichud. They're making to do it, but it's like extra. It just means that chnasal l'shusa. That if the place that she comes into his domain, some say the chuppah alone is good enough, even though it's not much public. But that means that the place is designated for the chassan, and she comes into the chuppah. That could be the pashup shot. So there's also to do nisuin. Lo basulas, lo amonis, lo mayavin. That not if she's the first time a basula, a virgin, or she's already a widow, and now he's marrying a widow, or it's a yibum that his brother died without children, and he's taking his sister-in-law as the mitzvah of yibum. All this is also to do with moed because it's happy. What's the problem with being happy? Happy is good. What's the problem? So the Gemara is going to talk about it. The Mishnah is a bit vague that it says that the problem is that it's happy. What? So that's going to be the Gemara. It might have a few pshatim. Why is it a problem that he's happy? So that's permissible. What else does it say? There's a new subject. So takshitim usually is translated as jewelry, but that's not the subject over here. It means some kind of cosmetics, and we're going to see what the problem is. That here it says that she's allowed to use these cosmetics, some kind of a hair remover or things like that. That is permissible in the moed. The Yehuda says no, she should not put sid. Sid is what is sid? Lime usually comes in, and it's some kind of chemical that hair removal. And he says she should not do it because it makes her disgusting. Well, now of course it's temporarily disgusting, and then it's going to be beautiful after the treatment. But we'll see more about that. That he says that she's not allowed to make herself disgusting during the moed, and we'll see about that. And one more Mishnah now. This is a new subject altogether. A new subject, a new Mishnah. Maybe make a little sign about that. That there, new Mishnah. Hediot Tofer Kedarko, Voman Machlik. That a profession, this is about sewing, nothing to do with the subject of it. Could be a new Mishnah, really should be a couple of pages later. A new Mishnah. Hedyot Tofer Kedarko, Voman Machlik. That is also to sew, but a Maisa Hedyot is mutter. Here it says that a Maisa Hedyot will be mutter. That if someone has to do some sewing, not professional, is permissible on the moed. But the problem is, if someone's a professional sewer, so how is he going to do it? Maisa Hedyot, he's professional. When he sews, he makes it beautiful. So it says, if you don't know how to sew Hedyot, you don't know how to sew well, then you could sew normal, because your normal sewing is considered a Maisa Hedyot. But someone who's Uman, he's a professional tailor, so Machlib. Machlib is going to be some kind of stitching that is not the regular stitching, like what's called today basting or something like that they make. The Gemara's going to say how to do it, that he does unprofessional stitches. So everyone's allowed to do a Maisa Hedyot. Some people are on.
So you can put on a button on.
It could be, I don't know. Halacha l'maisa, I'd have to check it out. I don't know. But here it says that it is mutter to sew a Maisa Hedyot. It could be the button. How do you do a Maisa Hedyot? It has to be something that's not considered professional. If you're a professional tailor, so then, but it could be a Hedyot. It would be mutter in a way that it's not professional. Whatever he does his best. It's considered a Maisa Hedyot. So here it says that as far as sewing, that Hedyot naturally is a Maisa Hedyot, and Uman, that he's a professional tailor, and when he's told sews normal, his normal is professional, so he has to go out of his way to artificially make it a Maisa Hedyot. And the next point is about Masagenas Amitos of Yosem Mamatrin. So something about making the, nowadays we don't have this, because we have a bed, whatever the bed looks like, whatever's holding up the mattress, we have boards or whatever it might be. But here they used to have ropes. They had the frame of the bed, and they'd have ropes that would go back and forth, and that would hold up the mattress, or straw in those days. That was a mattress of once upon a time. So in order to take and connect them to the board frame, that some kind of alternating back and forth, up and down. So Tanakama says you're allowed to do that. That's called doing Masaragas Amitos. So the word Mematchin seems to be, yes, please? Somebody? So Mematchin seems to be to stretch, like Motech means to stretch. So that seems that it's already on the bed frame, and he's just stretching it out in order to make it taut. But it would be usher to be Masarag. It seems that, I would see the Gemara, but the simple words in the Mishnah sound that according to the Tanakhama, it's mutter even to take this rope and to put it onto the bed frame. According to Yossi, only if it's there ready, you're allowed to tighten it, but not to put it for the first time. So these 2 points at the end of the Mishnah is a whole different subject. But back to the beginning, it talks about if you're allowed to marry, it says it's also to marry because it's happiness. So the Gemara's problem is, what's the problem to be happy? It's a nice thing to be happy on Chol HaMoed. What's the problem that it's happiness? Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you. And the point of Yossi seems only Mematchin. If it's already there, you're allowed to tighten it, but you can't put it on for the first time. Thank you, Lev Yaakov. I don't recall, but maybe. The Gemara is the kasha v'chi simcha he lo ma'hag. What's the problem that he's happy? Amar Yudah Mashmul v'chein Amar Belazar Amar B'Shaya Amar Belazar Amar B'Chanina lefi she'ei marvin simcha b'simcha. That you're not. So the usual translation is that you can't mix a simcha with another simcha. That one interferes with the other one. I had a pshat that I think is a true pshat. Is a pasuk in Yeshaya that says v'arva kol simcha, and it means a lashon of the darkening. You're not allowed to darken one simcha with another simcha. It's the same idea. That's if they fit into the words. That one simcha interferes with the other simcha. If you have a simcha, it has to be focused only on that simcha. If you have 2 simchas at the same time, so they lose out from each other. They're in competition. So therefore, he's going to be the simcha of his wife and the simcha of the moed. It takes away. So I don't really know the difference between these 2 twitzim. It seems to be the same thing, that he's going to be involved with the happiness of his wife. And he got married now, so he's not going to be involved in the simcha of the regel, which to me sounds the same as the Gemara before. Don't ruin, don't darken, don't mix one with the other. So what's the difference? So Taisa seems to say that according to the second Mande Omar, it's dafka this, dafka simcha sishta, simcha regel, and the first one holds a general rule, any kind of a simcha. So it could be that's the machlokas between the 2 opinions. Abaye said that this what we just said about Meniach Simchas Regel, the source is from Rav. The Amar Rav, the Neil of Rakatin Amar Rav said, from where do you know this point of the Mishnah that you're not allowed to marry during the Chol HaMoed? And what do you learn out? Be involved in the Simcha of the Regel, not about your wife. So therefore, not to get married because the Simcha of his wife is going to overshadow the Simcha of the Regel, and the Regel is going to lose out. And similar, the first also saying that one is going to mixing it is going to cause that they're going to lose out. Both of them are going to lose out. One of them is going to lose out. Ula Amar, another teretz. We have a few twists here why he's asked to marry, because he's happy. Ula Amar b'nei Torah, because he's too busy. That means that the happiness of his getting married, he works hard to make the chasana, and he's too busy. So we don't want him to be so busy on the Chol HaMoed, not because the happiness is interfering, but the busyness is interfering to prepare the chasana. So all the preparation, nowadays they pay a caterer, but if a person does it by himself, so he's very busy. We don't want people to be so busy on the Chag. Be busy for the Chag, but don't be busy for other busyness. So therefore, to get married is going to cause that he's busy. That he's going to delay getting married. How is that going to delay him getting married? So the Mefarshim say, the Gemara is going to say soon, because if it's permissible to get married on Chol HaMoed, he would push off the chassan until Chol HaMoed. He could have gotten married a month earlier. But he says the Chag is coming anyway. That's a good time to get married, either because he has big meals anyway, or because people are not working. So it's a good. He's not going to work. So it's an opportune time to make a chasana during Chol HaMoed. If so, he's going to push off the chasana. He could have made it 30 days, 20 days, 40 days earlier. But it'll say better to make it Chol HaMoed, Pesach, Chol HaMoed, Sukkot. So we'll push it off. We don't want people to push off the chasana. We want to make it as soon as they could. If they're ready to get married, don't push it off for no reason. So in order to avoid the delay, they prohibited to get married on Chol HaMoed. In order people should not postpone until Chol HaMoed.
I think that's also reason why about not shaving or taking haircuts on the Halloween is because then people would.
You're right. But over there, the problem was that they would come in. What's the problem? That they would come into Moed maneuver. They're overgrown, but here the point is something else. Nothing to do with the Moed is not losing out over here. But what's going to be the loss? He's not going to get married earlier. He could have gotten married a month earlier, a week earlier. The fact that he pushed it off to the Moed, that's a loss for the little period review that he wasn't married earlier. So that comes out 3 or 4 reasons why not to marry on the Moed, because it's a simcha, either because ein rav simcha b'simcha, or dafki here v'samachta b'chagecha v'lo b'shtecha, or he's going to be too busy on the Moed with the preparation for the chasna, or that he's going to push off the chasna until Chol HaMoed. We don't want him to. So therefore we said, don't do it. You can't do a Chol HaMoed. The male will do it at the first opportunity. Yashikach, everybody. We'll be back in a minute with Hilchos Muktzah. Back to Hilchos Muktzah.
I just want to mention that according to Ula, I think it would apply even today, even if we're today, the tircha could be deciding which caterer and what color should the things should be, and what's the menu going to be, and who should the band be, and who's the photographer. There's still a lot of, if you're calling tircha busy, there's enough to keep people busy, even if they don't have to cook the food and start the fire.
But they don't do all those things on the day of the chasna, right? That's all they've done beforehand. They're not going to call up the musician the day of the chasna, right? That's already. They're not going to get him.
Okay, well, she has to put her makeup on and get her hair done, so that takes all day.
A lot of people work on Yom Tov that shouldn't that shouldn't really be working anyway.
They have to take the photographs. That takes all day too.
The caterer.
It's also the caterer is also working too hard. Not only he's not working, the caterer is working.
Oh yeah, tircha for the caterer. Okay.
Okay, Yashikach, we'll be back in 2 minutes with Hilchos Muktzah.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome. We're in Hilchos Muktzah, and I found something that I didn't know, and came up a couple of times. Leib Yaakov, you spoke about the. You also told me an answer, but if you could remind me again about the candelabra that was on the table, and then in the Shabbos morning it wasn't there anymore.
Yes.
Could you tell us what you found out about that?
No, I have. I wasn't able to find anything out about it. I know that I was a guest Friday night and the candelabra was on the table. And then the next day for lunch, it was a new tablecloth and the candelabra was put away on a shelf.
And you didn't. I thought you told me something about that the last time we spoke. You found out something.
No, I think Avram Gans found. He asked somebody who had maybe had an idea of like what might have happened, but.
So now, just today's preparation, what I saw, I didn't know. We were almost there when we were reading it last time, and I just didn't read the next couple of lines. Last time we learned, if anybody has the book, we're on page Reish Zion. That's more or less what we're up to. And it talks about a Tanai. Last time we spoke about a Tanai, are you allowed to make a condition that you don't want this thing to become muktzah? Before Shabbos, you say that I'm not separating from it. I have in mind to move it, even though the word muktzah means that it's designated, it's set aside. The person, if he can make a Tanai. So we came out that this machlokes, the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah, which comes out as far the Ashkenazim, that Shulchan Aruch it permits if he makes a Tanai. Now let's read the text over here. A person.
Who is this on Reish Zion?
I'm starting the bottom of Reish Vav. I really am going to say Reish Zion, but Reish Vav on the bottom, the bottom two lines, Shin Pei Vav, the paragraph 386.
Okay, thank you.
If a person lit a candelabra on Erev Shabbos on top of he lit a flame on candelabra and also put on let's say a silver tray, and he wants to use the tray after the flame will go out. So it's machlokes supposed to be if he can make it tonight before Shabbos, that he has in mind that he wants to use it when the fire is going to go out. So he says Shulchan Aruch permits it, and the Ramah says that prohibits it. So we came out that's what we learned last time, and we said us Ashkenazim, we Ashkenazim, so we're not going to have this out there of making it tonight. That's how we ended last time. But I didn't realize, and then we sort of once. We spoke maybe Spartan would be allowed to do that. The case of the candelabra, about the candelabra itself to move away, it'll be permissible by making this tonight. That he doesn't want it to become designated for the buses. That's going to be there. It should be also the whole Shabbos. So we said that Sfardim might be permissible to do that, but Ashkenazim they wouldn't be able to make it tonight. So we still had difficulty. How did by Leib Yaakov's host? How did they get the candelabra off the table? But I just noticed that in the footnote, he brings down that the Ramah continues to say that the custom is to permit it through a goy, that a goy is allowed to do it. And they say that it's a combination of these two aterim, even though we don't tell a goy to move muktzah, and also it's also to rely on the Tanai. The Ashkenazim don't rely on this condition, but both of them together is permissible. So if you have in mind that you want the buses to become permissible after the muktzah goes away, the flame goes away, so then we would permit a goy to tell a goy to take it away. And the Ramah says that was the custom. I'll just read the Ramah inside. If anybody has a
This would mean that, in other words, we're telling the goy that this tray is something I want to use the next day.
No, you don't have to tell the goy. You have in mind that you want the goy to be able to move it, and on Shabbos you tell the goy take the candelabra off the table. You're not allowed to tell him to move muktzah because you knew that you wanted to move it. The Mishnah, let's read it inside. I didn't know this halacha. I didn't know this, and that's why we had problems with Leib Yaakov's host. But here, did they have a goy? They had a goy around over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
The goy, and also all of the hotels. We didn't know how the hotels do it. If they do, that the candelabra gets moved around. So here it says that's permissible. Let's see it inside. This is in Reish Ayin Tes 279. This is news for me also. 279. This whole simon is called about moving an air, tiltal an air b'Shabbos. And it says first halacha that we know that a flame which was lit on Shabbos, so then even after it got extinguished, it's also the rest of Shabbos. And also the oil that's left over, continue. Then it says even the sarku from a coma, even it's not just like a hammer that you're not allowed to move to save it, but if you need its place, you are allowed to, or you need to use it for its own use. But this is also even if you need its place. So if we don't know, you have a candelabra on the table, you're not allowed to move it, even if you want the place in order to change the tablecloth or to have a place to put different plates of food. You're not allowed to move the candelabra. Then he says, the next halacha Gimel says that talks about if there's going to be bread on it in order to make it buses for a davar mutter, fine. Halacha Daled, that's what we're up to now. That if you make a tanai from Erev Shabbos that you want to use it after it extinguishes, the Shulchan Aruch says that it's mutter, and that's a so far the Sfardim would have a heter that they have a tanai that after the flame is going to get extinguished, they're going to move the candelabra and be mutter. But then the Ramah says, Yesh Shomim that it doesn't help a tanai, and that's the custom in these countries, in these districts. So that's where we stopped last time, and it says that we, the Ashkenazim, are not going to rely on the tanai. But I didn't read the next words. Then it says, "V'nogin l'taltal al yidei ein Yehudi, ve'ein bazech shash mishum amira isra amira lein Yehudi hol v'aminei kach havikilu hisna alav mitchila v'shari kein deroli." So he says that nowadays the custom is that you do tell a guy to move it, and the reason is that since it's as if you made a tanai, which means a combination of the two heterim together. Each one alone is aser. You're not allowed to tell a guy to move muktzah, and we don't rely on a tanai that you're going to move it after it extinguishes. But both of them together we do. So that's Mamash open halacha that you. This is the Mishnah Berurah, the Ramah. This is Ramah. Without the Chafetz Chaim explains it, but the Ramah says it already. The Ramah says it already, and the Mishnah Berurah doesn't have any complaint against it. He says. He says even more. He says even if you don't need it from Makomo, you just need it in order that it shouldn't get stolen or lost, whatever. Also, you let him move it. It's as if you made it tonight. And he says the combination of both of them together. That's what he says.
Talking about the muksa itself or a basis to the muksa?
What would be the case of the muksa itself? We're talking about he's talking about
the candlesticks.
The candlesticks is also only a basis. The candlesticks is not worse than a.
It's not worse than a thing. So we want to make sure that they don't get stolen. So we have a tanai that we don't want them there. What is the tanai exactly?
The tanai is that we want it to be moved. That's what it seems. We want it to be moved. We don't want it. We don't get it out of our mind completely that it's going to be off use. We want it to be moved. I saw there's a question about this that you don't want to use it later on. You just want it off the table. But that's also good enough for some reason. That's enough of a tanai, and you can't do it yourself, Ashkenazim. But you could tell the guy.
I mean, we had this discussion. When we start,
Moshe was saying that you don't need a tanai. So you do need a tanai, but he says that since that's the custom, so it's like you made a tanai. Even if you don't think about it every Shabbos, that's what everybody does. And nowadays, I don't know what everybody does, but if you have a goyish, but it says that you'd be allowed to tell the guy to do it because it's considered that you had in mind that you wanted to move, and you're not allowed to move it, but you could tell the guy. Yes, Benjamin.
When we first started this, in the beginning, I remember we were talking about this, and I was questioning with you, how is it, this provides an avenue where you want to change the tablecloth, like in the days where we needed candles. Today we have electric lights everywhere, but in the days where you had just candles on the table to light the table, to see what you were eating. Provided you have a guy, it gave you an ability to change the cloth, right? I mean,
right.
That otherwise you'd be always, before we had, today we use plastics and all this, modern, adaptation. But in the old days we had a tablecloth, and we used to, how would you clean the tablecloth? How would you switch between dairy, meat, whatever your needs were?
Right. So they weren't able to. They'd have to put a tablecloth on top, whatever, only on the two ends, whatever, avoiding detouring the candelabra, or they would have to put the candelabra on the walls, whatever, like on the side, or a chandelier that's hanging from the ceiling, that they would light that. That's probably what they did have. They probably had something hanging from the ceiling, and that's how they would light the fire, probably. But without even with this, is only if you have a guy around. If you don't have a guy, so there's no heter to do it, according to Ashkenazim at least. So that's what comes out. So that's a big heter. I didn't know about this.
Yeah. So then it means that there's no amira la'akum. There's no
issur, right? No issur to tell a guy because the tanai, because it is tanai, combination of the tanai. So they're very exciting. Leib Yaakov, we found the mystery. Okay.
My hosts are exonerated in wherever that was. It wasn't Antwerp, but forget it was
How many years have they been in?
in Amsterdam. I was in Amsterdam. How many
Okay,
years?
so
20 years.
So I didn't know this.
Their
but,
kids are married and they're all moving their things now for decades.
Okay, so that's the luck, and I guess marriage happens in hotels. I guess this is what happens in hotels also. Okay, so that's so how did I get to this? I didn't even think of looking. It's a very big long footnote that I don't usually read the long ones, but I started the next halacha on page Reish Ches, and here comes out halacha about moving with a guy, telling a guy to move muktzah, and there was some reference here in the footnotes to the thing before, so I found this and I'm very excited. Okay, so
Thank
now
you very
we're
much.
As far as
Great.
yes, please.
as far as the hotels, I mean, usually they don't, at least the ones that I've been to, they don't usually put the candles on the table. You know what I mean? They have
A separate
area
table for the
lighting.
tea lights over there.
No, I have been in hotels where they have special places, special tables for the tea candles for the women to light, and the next day they're gone.
It's not on the table. It's not a special table, but the special table
It's
is
on a
also
special table, and the whole thing is missing. Yeah, the whole thing by the next day is missing.
So that's also going to be based on the same heter. But it's mutter. The Sarach is going to be. They don't want a table full of tea lights, burnt out tea lights,
Right.
and a
No,
fancy
it could
hotel.
be in front of a door that they want people to be able to walk there or something. There could be reasons why a hotel doesn't want it.
Okay, so that seems to be mutter. Okay, we found it. Okay, so we're on page Reish Ches, and the new subject for today is about moving muktzah through a goy. Can you tell a goy to move muktzah? So it should be like any kind of issa that you're not allowed to, right? You can't tell a goy to do issa drabanan. Muktzah is issa drabanan, even if a Jew does it. So it's a double issa. It'll be a double drabanan. Telling a guy to do malach is also issa drabanan. So telling a guy to move muktzah is a double drabanan. But you're not allowed to do that either. But the first point that he says is if it's for a mitzvah, or if it's for pain, some kind of pain, tsar, or there's a financial loss, so then it is mutter. The double drabanan in combination, that is also for a mitzvah, or for a tsar, or for a hefsid, a loss, a financial loss, so then it's also permissible. So the way that he says is in 387, Shin Pei Zayin, mutter lo nachri l'taltel dvar muktzah b'Shabbos imadav anasa l'tzorch mitzvah, or b'makom tsar, or b'makom hefsid meruba, a big financial loss. That is called the shvus, a double drabanan. Telling a guy is drabanan, and moving muktzah is drabanan. So you're telling a guy to do issa drabanan. That's permissible in the case of a mitzvah or a pain, some kind of something's painful, or a big financial loss. If that's good, that's a new heter also. The next two paragraphs we have to skip, because it says here that it says in the bottom that the Mishnah Berurah says that it's not good to rely on these Ethereum so much. So we'll skip them and we'll go on to the bottom of the page, Shin Sadi 390, and it says that you're not allowed to tell a goy to move muktzah, which is in a place that it might get damaged. Means that don't think that it's more permissible in order to save something, that it shouldn't get stolen. As we said, that it's going to be only hefsid meruba. We said hefsid meruba. We just said that if it's a big financial loss, it's permissible. But if it's not a big financial loss, so that's just a heter. You might think that since it's not such a yes. Anybody? No. So don't think that it's permissible to tell a guy because you want to save the thing. That's also awesome. So we only have one heter so far. That's called the shvush b'makom mitzvah or tsar or hefsid meruba. On the next page, Shin Tzadi Aleph. So he says, how about a klisha malachta l'isser, that it might get lost or stolen. So just to back up and recall the regular halacha before we get to the goy, that the klisha malachta l'isser is something which is, we'll call it a hammer, that it's a utensil which is used for something which is asur on Shabbos, like a hammer that's used to build. So it's a kli which is designated for issa, so you're not allowed to move it. We said you are allowed to move it to tzarich gufa makomo. If it's on your table and you need the table, or you have to use the hammer in order to open a coconut, so then it's permissible. That's what you know, that's the regular. But if you're scared the hammer is going to get stolen, or it's going to get ruined in the sun or in the rain, you're not allowed to. That's the regular, that's just recalling the regular halachas we learned the whole time, that a klisha malachto l'isser, a utensil which is designated for a prohibited act, so you're allowed to move it if you need the place that it's in, or if you need to use it for itself, like the coconut idea, but you would not be allowed to move it in order to take care of it. Right? That's so far as the givens. Now it says that maybe to tell a guy you would be allowed to. You have a hammer that's going to get stolen, or rain is going to get ruined. So he says yesh poskim. Says to read that yesh poskim hashakasav shemuter lomo lenochri latalto klishem lachto leiser afilu kasher kavanoso shakli lo yinazek. Some poskim say that it's permissible to tell a guy to move a klishem lachto leiser, a utensil which is designated for doing Isser on Shabbos, like a hammer, even if you're not doing it for Gufa Makomo. You're doing it because you want that the Kli should not get damaged. And the reason why it's mutter, since the Kli Malachto Lisser is more lenient than other muksa, because you see it's mutter, let's start Gufa Makomo. So here, to tell a guy to save it is also permissible. So that seems to be the halacha also. He means on the bottom that they rely on this halacha. So if you have yes,
can you just repeat that again? What you're just saying that with a hammer, you can have a goy move it, even though we can't move it.
Right. We could move it if under certain circumstances we're allowed to move it. Also, if you need it for the place, it's on your table. You want to put a plate down, it's in the way, or you need it to open a coconut. You'd be allowed to use the hammer, but we would not be allowed to move it in order to save it from getting damaged or lost. But you could tell a guy to do that. In order to save it from getting damaged or lost, you could tell a guy.
And that's the same concept of the buses because of the fact there's a double.
No. It's always a double. Telling a guy to move muktzah is always a double drabanan. But usually you're not allowed to do a double drabanan. You only said it's mutter if it's a mitzvah or big financial loss, or pain, tsar. That was the first set that we said today. Double drabanan in case of a mitzvah or pain or big financial loss. Now it's not a big financial loss. It's not called a big. It's not called hefsed rub. It's not called a big financial loss. So you wouldn't be allowed to do a double drabanan. But this muktzah is not such a severe muktzah. The fact that there are a terim to move it, it's not an absolute muktzah. You are allowed to move it if you need the place or if you need it for its own use. For opening the coconut. So since it's not such a severe muktzah, so then they say that it is mutter to tell the goy to move it for the purpose of saving it from getting lost, etc. Makes sense?
I guess, yeah, just to repeat back what you're saying because we already have a heter to move it, since it's in a sort of unique category, we're going to allow the
lenient category.
Lenient category. We're going to allow the
It's a lenient category more than a real
for the specific case of protecting it from damage. Right. I guess obviously in that one category, you'd also say what if I mean, obviously you could move it if you need to use the hammer to open the coconut. So I assume you could tell the guy to bring it to you as well. Yeah, for sure. You can outdo yourself even. That goes with, like you said, that goes without saying. If you could do it, so surely you don't need the guy. You can do it yourself. But here to move it out of the sun or the rain, or it's going to get stolen. So then you wouldn't be allowed to do it yourself, but you could tell the guy. Yeah. Two things. One, as far as Leib Yaakov was saying, I just meant when it's not on the table, meaning not on the dining table when they put the candles down. They put it on a separate table. Right. And number two, I was going to ask you regarding the coconut, regarding maybe this is a little different. Sometimes there's two phases to opening a coconut. Sometimes you take a screwdriver or something to punch a hole in the coconut to get the milk out of it before you crack it open. Yeah. So I just was thinking, sometimes, I don't know the background of toiveling and so forth, but is there a requirement? Like if you're using a screwdriver to open the coconut, is there not a problem with the fact that the kli is not toivel? I don't think so, because it's not designated. It's not designated for food. It's you're doing it a one-time thing. If you're going to have this thing designated, it's going to be used after for food. So then you would have to, but it's not. It's in your toolbox. It's in my toolbox, but every time you have a coconut, you grab it. So right. So that's the